Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Isaiah chapter 41, verses 10, 11, and 13. Fear you not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your Elohim. I will strengthen you. Yea, I will help you. Yea, I will uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. Behold, all that they were incensed against you shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing, and they that strive with you shall perish. For I, Yahweh, your Elohim, will hold thy right hand, saying unto you, fear not, I will help you.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Stand By Me.
When the storms of life are raging,
stand by me.
when the storms of life are raging,
Stand by me.
when the world is tossing me like a ship upon the sea.
Oh, thou who rulest wind and water, stand by me.
In the midst of tribulations,
Stand by me.
in the midst of tribulations, oh yeah,
Stand by me.
when the host of hell assail and my strength begins to fail.
Oh, thou who never lost a battle, stand by me.
In the midst of faults and failures, yeah.
Stand by me.
In the midst of faults and failures, oh Yahweh.
Stand by me.
When I do the best I can, and my friends misunderstand.
Oh, thou who knowest all about me, stand by me.
In the midst of persecution,
Stand by me.
in the midst of persecution,
Stand by me.
When my foes in battle array undertake to stop my way.
Oh, thou who save all and silence, stand by me.
When I'm growing old and feeble,
Stand by me.
when I'm growing old and feeble,
Stand by me.
when my life becomes a burden and I'm nearing chilly Jordan. Oh, thou lily of the valley, oh, stand by me.
Oh,
Stand by
me.
Stand by me, stand by me.
Stand by me. Stand by me.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. As we begin to notice some of the things that are taking place, because we know that the wool is being pulled away from some of the eyes who have been blind and have chosen to be blind. But once that happens, all of a sudden you have people wanting to step in the place as if they are the people who have always put in work. And we noticed this when Farrakhan began to put out teachings and wrote about 5 books about who the children of Israel are, that you know, the so-called African American, you know, they are the true children of Israel. How does that, you know, what does that matter to you as a Muslim? What are you going to do with that? What is the purpose of you coming out? What happened, and he beat everybody else. You understand? Because his ear was to the ground. He kept his nose to the street. So he already knew that the tide is about to turn. Okay? And one thing you got to give, you know, a brother, you know, in Islam some credit. They keep their ear to the ground. They keep their nose to the street. They know, all right, this is about to turn. So he beat everybody to the punch. There were billboards all in major cities, advertising. He went to various towns to speak and had all his books ready when he got to those towns. And why was that? Why would a person who is, quite frankly, the government has left him alone. He can say what he want to say. He can move how he want to move. We watched when he came to Atlanta, he moved like Obama before Obama was Obama. He had his own police force. He had his own cop escort, but this wasn't no police escort. This was Nation of Islam. He had his own motorcycle cop. We looked at the stuff on that motorcycle. I said, oh, that ain't no police. That's them his folks. He had his own. He didn't stop at nan light. He moved like a diplomat. Now, and all of you couldn't tell which one. All the cars was black, tinted windows. And purposely, there was all of the windows were up except one. And they purposely wanted all these windows down. Because it was dudes who had their arm hanging out. And the arm looked like legs. They had the biggest muscles you ever seen in your life. These dudes had ear muscles. And they was hanging out the window. Because they wanted to let you know, if you run up, you're getting done up. You know? That's what that was for. And they had all their windows down so you can see them. And they looking at you when you going by. Oh, okay. He came for real. But what was that about? As the tide changes, everybody want to act like they already been doing this work. They want to act like they've been working. See, once it becomes the end thing, now everybody doing it. But you're not gonna fool Yahweh. Yahweh know who was in this when it wasn't but 3 people saying, I think we Hebrews. Yahweh know you're not gonna fool him. He ain't never not seen what was going on. What did he say? I reserved to myself. And the brother said, hey, they have killed your prophets and I'm left alone. He said, look, I reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. You ain't alone, man. I know who served me. They can run around and jump in front of the TV. It was very timely for people to go and march at the stadium when some things going down. Oh, this TV time. Everybody loved that TV time. So let's march when this happens. Then you start seeing programs come out or shows, the leader of the Israelites. The leader of what Israelite? Oh, you think this cat is the leader of every Israelite group? I found that interesting how those things were phrased. But this is that time. Well, everybody got to act. Get in the book. You find the same thing. Well, folks want to be like, I'm the one that Yahweh has chosen. Really? Seriously? So as we get down into this, we have to then get into the importance of eldership. See, we talk about priests and things of that nature, but it's not just priests. When you get into the elders, these people who have done this service, Yahweh is not fooled as to who gets to make certain decisions. See, we get fooled by how many people we can get to march down the street. We like that. We like that. That really tickles our fancy. Matter of fact, we won't go to a restaurant if it ain't a whole bunch of people in the parking lot. All you got to do is fool us. Is put a lot of people in the parking lot. You say, you know what? They must have good food over there. And the food is horrible. Macaroni, saga, the chicken tastes like wood. But we gonna go over there because cars in the parking lot. All you got to do is pass out 20 free coupons and the parking lot full. That's all you got to do to trick us. The 20 free coupons brought 100 more people. Because we ride down the street and say, hey, that place, it must be good food there. Look how many people there. That's why they hold the line outside the club. The line outside the club going around the block. We wasn't even going to that club till we went by. You know what? You see how many people in that line? You come to figure out when you get in that club, the only people that's in that club is the people that was in that line. They held that line for 2 hours. You get in there, man, there were about 50 people in that line. Yeah, and there's only 50 people in this club. This club holds 4,000, brother. There's 50 people in there. All 50 was outside. But that's all it takes to trick us. See? That's all it takes. Are you being fooled by these things? Yahweh has an order. Even when you deal with this system of eldership, you get to some of these other organizations, and Jehovah's Witnesses have 14-year-old elders. They treat the eldership like a thing of, you're an usher, or you on the cooking committee. So then you just sign up to be an elder. So here it is. You got a kid who ain't went through puberty yet, but he's an elder. This cat ain't got his first pimple, but he's supposed to be an elder. How you gonna help instruct me? You can't instruct me about puberty. How you gonna instruct? So we have to understand that there is something to the order that Yahweh has set up, and Yahweh is consistent with this order. You're going to find this order before he gives the law and after. The law has been already dealt with even after Yahshua is present. Let's begin today's sermon in Numbers chapter 4. Numbers chapter 4, and we're going to start that at verse 1, and we're going to read through verse 15.
Verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and unto Aaron, saying, Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi, after their families, by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even until 50 years old, all that enter into the host to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation.
And this is real man work that they got going on here. Understand, the tabernacle was moving. They got to pull all of this stuff down. You need some fully grown-minded people who understand, because sometimes we'll just take stuff apart and forget we got to put it back together. Hey, bro, what are screws at? for this. Oh, we need them again. Bruh, whenever the cloud move, the tabernacle got to come down. Bruh, we got to put the tabernacle back up. Where the screws at? Well, I got a screw like it. Come on, bruh. No, man. We got to put this up exactly according to the instructions. There's somebody now running down the street and they motor running funny. Because somebody took the whole head off and missed the head bolt. And they said, you know what? We had a swing that broke back in there. And I got a bolt look just like that. And they put the swing bolt in there. And that's what that car do when they get about 35. It swing. Bro, you can't just put anything in there. You ain't going to get anybody to do this. I'm going to need y'all to help make sure you are keeping these dues in order. Because there has to be order in this. Nothing worse. We have a hard enough time building something one time. Do you understand how difficult it is to continually move something? Matter of fact, this is how things get broke. I tell people constantly, hey man, if we ain't got to keep moving that, put that together one time and leave it alone. The more something gets moved, the easier it is to get broken. You think Yahweh don't know that? So we need some order when it comes down to this. Go ahead.
Verse 4. This shall be the service of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation about the most holy things.
Uh-huh.
And when the camp sets forward, Aaron shall come and his sons, and they shall take down the covering veil and cover the ark of testimony with it, and shall put thereon the covering of badger skins, and shall spread over it a cloth wholly of blue, and shall put in the staves thereof. And upon the table of the showbread they shall spread a cloth of blue, and put thereon the dishes, and the spoons, and the bowls, and covers to cover withal, and the continual bread shall be thereon. And they shall spread upon them a cloth of scarlet, and cover the same with a covering of badger skins, and shall put in the staves thereof. And they shall take a cloth of blue, and cover the candlestick of the light, and his lamps, and his tongs, and his snuff dishes, and all the oil vessels thereof, wherewith they minister unto it. And they shall put it and all the vessels thereof within a covering of badger skins, and shall put it upon a bar. And upon the golden altar they shall spread a cloth of blue, and cover it with a covering of badger skins, and shall put to the staves thereof. And they shall take all the instruments of ministry, wherewith they minister in the sanctuary, and put them in a cloth of blue, and cover them with a covering of badger skins, and shall put them on a bar. And they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth thereon. And they shall put upon it all the vessels thereof, wherewith they minister about it, even the censers, the flesh hooks, and the shovels, and the basins, all the vessels of the altar. And they shall spread upon it a covering of badger skins, and put to the staves of it. And when Aaron and his sons have made an end of covering the sanctuary, and all the vessels of the sanctuary, as the camp is set forward, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to bear it. But they shall not touch any holy thing, lest they die. These are the burdens of the sons of Kohath in the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, so they have to take care of all of the things concerning this. All right, and then there's order in doing it. There is order in who gets to do it. You don't just say, well, I'm a priest, so I should be able to go in and do such and such. That's not how that works. Everybody don't have the same authority. Everybody don't have the same job. You have the authority in the job that you have. You don't have authority in somebody else's job. Let's jump to verse 22.
Take also the sum of the sons of Gershon throughout the houses of their fathers by their families. From 30 years old and upward until 50 years old shall you number them, all that enter in to perform the service, to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, so we then get this 30 to 50, this work age, and we know, according to what word was given unto us, we know that a man is grown at 20. But for certain jobs and receiving a charge, he said, oh, no, to do this, they need to be 30. But we know a man is able to go forth to war at 20. So then there's levels of service then. Go ahead.
This is the service of the families of the Gershonites to serve and for burdens. And they shall bear the curtains of the tabernacle and the tabernacle of the congregation, his covering, and the covering of the badger's skins that is above upon it, and the hanging for the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, jump to verse 29.
As for the sons of Merari, you shall number them after their families by the house of their fathers. From 30 years old and upward, even on to 50 years old, shall you number them, every one that enters into the service, to do the work of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So then, although these different families have these different jobs, you find the same set forth time span of 30 years, even unto 50 years old. Go ahead.
And this is the charge of their burden, according to all their service in the tabernacle of the congregation, the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars thereof, and the pillars thereof, and sockets thereof.
Right. And when you start getting down into these things, you find that this is some serious work. We just talk about or think about, hey, the cloud move, so they move. We didn't consider. Do you understand how much work that is? You understand how much work? And they said, think about us having to pull down this building. There's some of us that be like, man, Yahweh moving again. We won't want y'all. Please be still, Yahweh. Please don't move. You think about having to take down every last one of these walls, move everything in here, and then be organized as you're moving every dish, every spoon, because it all has to go back up exactly how it came down. We get upset if somebody said, hey, brother, could you vacuum the hall? Vacuum the hall? I went to college. I went to college so I wouldn't have to vacuum the hall. Numbers chapter 8, bro. Numbers chapter 8.
Brother, as we going through this 50-year stuff, I look back at what this country used to be and where it's at. Is this would be the time that, you and I would be enjoying not having to focus on a job and be able to put more time into Yahweh's work.
Right.
But this evil place has done took the pension and the retirement and said, nah, you got to wait till you're 72.
Right.
It's like, what?
Right. They wait until they hope you're going to die the day after you get it. So that basically you work and put all the money into a system that you will never get anything out of. So what they did was they looked and said, what is the average age of a black man's death? Then they moved retirement to that age. What was the purpose? So that you would constantly work and put money into the system so that you would take care of the Gentiles. It is your money that is taking care of the Gentiles because it is set forth that you are going to die before you get any of it. But you will be putting into this system the entire time. That was moved for a reason because we was actually getting to benefit from our own service. They said, oh, no, we got to change this. So it's definitely a plan there. Numbers 8, and let's start that at verse 5.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. And thus shall you do unto them, to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of purifying upon them, and let them shave all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes, and so make themselves clean. Then let them take a young bullock with his meat offering, even fine flour mingled with oil, and another young bullock shall you take for a sin offering. And you shall bring the Levites before the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall gather the whole assembly of the children of Israel together. And you shall bring the Levites before Yahweh, and the children of Israel shall put their hands upon the Levites. And Aaron shall offer the Levites before Yahweh for an offering of the children of Israel, that they may execute the service of Yahweh. And the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the bullocks, and you shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering unto Yahweh, to make an atonement for the Levites. And you shall set the Levites before Aaron, and before his sons, and offer them for an offering unto Yahweh. Thus shall you separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine.
So then you have to consider what happened when Hannah wanted a child so much that she said, if you give me a man child, I'll give him back. Oh, Yahweh, like, I'll take that deal. And for your offering, you're going to bring forth more children. But I'll take it. You're going to give me the firstborn that proceeds out of your womb, I'll take it. That ended up being Samuel. One of the best prophets we have ever seen. You didn't find no flaw at all in Samuel's leadership. And when his boys weren't right, then they said, look, your boys ain't like you. You ain't read about his boy doing nothing like Eli's boys, and he turned the other way. Now, how they know his boys wasn't right? They didn't say that about Eli. He said, I know of your dealings, because I hear it from these people. But them people didn't come and say, hey, you need to remove your son. Samuel somehow didn't have that problem. They knew his boys wasn't like him. But we ain't read not one thing that his boys messed up Yahweh's work. That means Samuel took care of that business. Boy, you ain't right. Get out over here. That's what a daddy do. Boy, you not finna mess up what's going on with Yahweh. You gonna tear up my house? Go tear up my house. But you're not gonna tear up his house. Go on. Go ahead.
And after that shall the Levites go to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall cleanse them and offer them for an offering. For they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel, instead of such as open every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all the children of Israel, have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself.
Now, it is important that we understand this concept, because there are certain things that happen in the development of the nation of Israel that we are forever held to. You understand? See, there are certain things that we might look and say, well, I don't understand why it's got to be that way. Oh, no. Once he went and killed all the firstborn for you, all the firstborn became his. Point blank. Right off the rip. So this is now something that each and every last one of us then become born into. So then he says, okay, instead of the firstborn, I take the Levites. Do you understand then how serious then the Levitical priesthood is with Yahweh? The firstborn that was offered unto him is no longer put under that because of the priesthood. Now, do you understand how serious the priesthood is? You didn't have to offer up your firstborn unto him because of the priesthood. So when people say, oh, the priesthood done away with, all right, well, give me your firstborn. I'm sorry, wait a minute. What you talking about? See, you don't understand what you're dealing with. When folks say, oh, no, the priesthood done away with, fine then. Go ahead, when you want to drop the boy off? What time you dropping him off? Oh, we don't like that. No, well, okay, well, never mind. Right. See, we're so easy to say something done away with until we realize, you do understand that means you got to pay a different price, right? You just turned in your discount card. You sure you want to do that? Go ahead.
Another way they tried to get away from it, I'm ordered the order of Melchizedek. So that means I'm not holding to this either.
Yeah, that is always the funniest thing to me, Melchizedek had no mother, no father, no beginning, no ending. Yet we under the order of Melchizedek. How are you under the order of Melchizedek? Explain that to me. Where your mom at? Where your dad at? So you got a mama and a daddy, right? How you under the order of Melchizedek? I see your mama right there. How you under the order of Melchizedek? And Melchizedek ain't never gonna die. I can guarantee you gonna leave him. I can't tell you when, but I know you gonna leave him. But you under the order of Melchizedek. Under the order of Melchizedek mean basically you ain't never gonna die. If people understood the things that were coming out of their mouth, but that's part of our problem though. We will be under a teaching for 30 days and say, you know what? I can do this. You know what I'm gonna teach? Right? You've been learning 28 days. You ready to be a priest? I'm ready. I'm ready. We sat under them folks at Sunday church for 10, 12 years and never questioned the leadership. Come out, get 28 days of Hebrew teaching, and you know what? You know what? I done stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. You know what? I'm ready. How this look on me? Come on, bro, for real? Right. Because we don't understand how the eldership works. You don't just jump into this. Matter of fact, most of the times it ain't you that's getting you into this. You just think it is. As this road gets further down, you'll realize, you know what, I don't think I made no decision at all. I thought I made the decision. See, if you knew, that don't make no sense to you right now. Give it a couple years and you'd be like, now did I decide to go there? I thought I made that decision. And you find out, no, that wasn't you at all. Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 18. And I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Israel. And I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and to his sons from among the children of Israel, to do the service of the children of Israel and the tabernacle of the congregation, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come near unto the sanctuary.
When the children come near, that there be no plague, the ones that I have taken in the stead of the firstborn are going to take care of this job. So then understand, the nations who really want our demise, they know how powerful it is to pollute the priesthood. You have to understand something. Your enemies read your story so that they can do what nations do all the time, reverse engineering. That's what they said. If somebody shoot a missile over there in a country and the missile don't blow up, they be like, yes. Like, why? Because they go and take the missile apart and reverse engineer it. What does that mean? They're going to take it apart to see how it was built. And then they're going to be able to make the same kind of missile. So when your enemies say, how do we destroy you? They go into your book and figure out what things make Yahweh angry. Now reverse engineer it. Yahweh says, what? A man shall not wear that which pertain unto a woman. What does your enemy do? Who owns Hollywood? He makes sure that all your favorite actors have to put on a dress. He makes sure. See, so he's making sure I'm burning them. I'm reverse engineering the law that binds them to their Elohim. So I make them put on a dress. And they won't understand what I'm doing. So then they say, oh, the law of their Elohim says that they should eat a certain way. We're going to put nothing but bad stuff in their neighborhood. We're going to surround them with malt liquor and pork rinds. So in every store, that's all you run into. Malt liquor and pork rinds. Sooner or later, about your 5th trip, you know what? You know what? I wonder what pork rinds taste like. Right. Why, that don't happen to other people because they're not running into malt liquor and pork rinds. You go in other places and you go in there, wait a minute, ain't no malt liquor in here, right? Because that's in another neighborhood where they're not giving them malt liquor. They just get liquor. You get the malt. The kind of stuff that make you fight in the middle of the street. Right. That stuff is marketed to you. See? You go in there and find out as much as these people like pig, ain't no pork rinds at the counter. And they love themselves some pig. I mean, they love it. Why ain't no pork rinds at the counter? And they put the pork rinds right before you get ready to leave, and you stand, so you got to sit there and look at the pork rinds for a minute. While you in line, you got to keep looking at the pork rinds. I grew up with folk that was their thing. Pork rinds and hot sauce. The pork rinds would be soggy because they put so much hot sauce on there. You just see them here. When this brother gonna stop sprinkling? Whole pork rinds red. Then they came out. You know what they figured out? You know what? These knuckles like hot pork rinds. They didn't have to put the hot sauce on them no more. They came hot. They started making hot pork rinds for us. And where were they? Right at the counter. Right at the counter. So you didn't have to go look for your pork rinds. Just stand in the line. When you get ready to pay for your Snicker bar, you looking at them pork rinds. And they got the hot sauce already on them, don't they? Right. Who you think put them in them stores? So they can destroy your heritage. And you pay for your heritage to be destroyed. They didn't give you the pork rinds. You purchased them. You are paying the destroyers of your heritage. Go ahead, bro.
Numbers chapter 8 and verse 20. And Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according unto all that Yahweh commanded Moshe concerning the Levites. So did the children of Israel unto them. And the Levites were purified, and they washed their clothes. And Aaron offered them as an offering before Yahweh. And Aaron made an atonement for them to cleanse them. And after that went the Levites in to do the service in the tabernacle of the congregation before Aaron and before his sons. As Yahweh had commanded Moshe concerning the Levites, so did they unto them. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, This is it that belongs unto the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall go in to wait upon the service of the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, so now, as we get to certain jobs, we see, wait a minute, let's let some of these young boys get up in here. Because at some point, when you have these 30-year-olds who are directing something from 30 to 50, then, hey, these young boys can come out here and pick up some things, and you find out when you about 45, you might not want to try to pick that up. I mean, I could pick it up. I just won't be able to pick up nothing else the next week. I'm going to be stuck right there where I picked that up at. And I said, what's stuck at? You saw him last week, didn't you? Where that way at right now? He in the same place where he picked that thing up that he shouldn't have picked up. He should have let one of them 25-year-old boys pick that up. See, this is where we mess up at. See, when it come time for us to be a coach, we still want to be a player. See, you got to know when you have reached coach status. Ain't nothing worse than a 50-year-old putting a helmet on. Yeah, I can do this. You gonna die. You gonna die. They gonna kill you out there. That 20-year-old can have his whole arm knocked off. And he'll be sideways. He'll grab the arm, snatch it back into place, knock it on the wall, and say, put me back in, coach. That happened to me, I'm gonna need surgery. You gotta understand, when you're a coach, you don't jump on the field. You have to understand, your glory days of being on the field are gone. You have to learn how to get your glory a different way. Now it's time to help the 25-year-old be a better man. Now you can use your expertise to help their physical ability. But don't jump out there on the field, man. You're a coach. Coach run down the sideline and almost pass out. You can't get on the field, man. So then as we get to certain levels, you got to step back and let other people do the level of where they are. Go ahead.
And from the age of 50 years old, and from the age of 50 years, they shall cease waiting upon the service thereof and shall serve no more.
Now that don't mean, now this is where the retirement of physical duty is. Keep going.
But shall minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of the congregation.
Now they have the right to offer advice. Now they coaches. See, we still 25.2 and we ready to coach. Wait a minute. You ain't played enough ball yet. Everybody couch coach. Every couch coach won the championship. There's couch coaches that got a ring on every finger. They won the Super Bowl and the championship every year. All their decisions are magnificent. Right. Go ahead.
To keep the charge, and shall do no service. Thus shall you do unto the Levites, touching their charge.
All right, let's go to our First Chronicles, chapter 23.
You know, brother, in verse 26 there at the end, it says, even though in the retirement it says to keep the charge. And as far as I know, there's not a point where it says that you are void of that charge. You know, we'll get to a point that ain't my job no more.
Right. Yep. You know, that's one of the things where when you talk about respecting the eldership, you know, we would give people leeway. You know, I remember when I got to be in charge of the media department when my elder was alive, and he hurt some people's feelings. He said, you know, this is the best media department we've ever had. And that hurt their feelings. They was like, well, he one of the youngest dudes that done ran the media department. Hey, we got two fellas back there in charge of the media department, and I can tell you right now, this is the best media department we done ever had. One of them dudes ain't even got no fuzz on his lip. To get peach fuzz, he actually need a peach. You know what I'm talking about? But he's taking care of that business, though. All right, go ahead.
First Chronicles chapter 23 and verse 1. So when David was old and full of days, he made Shlomo his son king over Israel. And he gathered together all the princes of Israel with the priests and the Levites. Now the Levites were numbered from the age of 30 years and upward, and their number by their polls, man by man, was 38,000.
And you notice that when it comes down to certain things, and we all the way in Chronicles, you find different ages, and you're going to find that, hey, this is a different level of service right here. So the official charge is going to them, but you don't just bring these young boys in at 30 and say, all right, now work. Well, wait a minute. You got to train them somehow, right? Mm-hmm. All right, we'll get in here. All right, I'll let you do this. Watch me. All right, now go bring me this. Go bring me that. See, now they're learning tools. And one thing I noticed when watching mechanics work, they know the sizes of tools by looking at the bolt. Mm-hmm. So bring me a 316. And I said, how in the hell you know that's a 316? You know how I know? I bring the whole tool set and I take it off. That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. And they just sitting there looking at me. This gonna take all day right here. Bro, that's a 316. How you know that? Because I know what bolts look like. Well, I don't. Well, guess what? The helper is learning what bolts look like. Go get me this. Go get me that. Friend of mine was a carpenter. He passed away not too long ago. And he had his wife working with him one day. And boy, it was a dirty trick. He said, go out to the truck and get me a left-handed hammer. Boy, she was out there for an hour. She picked up the hammer. She said, this can't be it, because that looked like a regular one. So she kept picking it, putting it back down. He finally went to laughing. It's like, baby, there's no such thing as a left-handed hammer. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing. All right, you can come out the truck now. You can come out. You can come out. That's what these younger guys will be learning. So it matters how we're doing something. Whether you know it or not, you teaching them. You might be teaching them wrong. They might see your shortcut and say, that's how you do it. Do you stop and say, whoa, hold on. No, I did something that I shouldn't have let you see. Come here. That's not how you do this. All right, this is the right way to do this. I did this because of this and that, and we got 3 minutes where we supposed to be somewhere else. Now, when I come back, I'm going to do this the right way. This is not the right way. If you don't clarify that, he now takes that 20 years later, he's still thinking that's the right way. And he said, I know this because I saw an elder do this. Go ahead.
But what happens when you're at that point of an elder and somebody who knows the right way comes along and tests you? Then it becomes, how did you get this far doing it this way? Mm-hmm. It's, like you say, the dirty tricks. I know this guy, he's a manager of an auto parts store. So I called him up one day and said, hey man, I need you to order something for me. He said, what? I said, I need a pair of muffler bearings for such and such a car. He said, okay man, I'll look into it. It was almost a week later, my partner called me and said, bruh, you found me? No, man, I'm still lurking. I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. He said, that dude is playing with you. Stop. There's no such thing.
Man.
But that was just me like, dude, you the manager of the store. You're running all these people. You didn't have enough sense to know there's no such thing as muffler bearings?
I didn't know until you just said it. I was going to go and say, hey, I was going to call my mechanic. Hey, my bearings in my muffler. All right, well, call me back. Holler back. Man, yeah, see, y'all can't be playing them tricks on people, man. I got to stop playing with people's emotions. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 4, of which 24,000 were to set forward the work of the house of Yahweh, and 6,000 were officers and judges. Moreover, 4,000 were potters, and 4,000 praised Yahweh with the instruments which I made, said Dawid, to praise therewith. And Dawid divided them into courses among the sons of Levi, namely Gershon, Kohath, and Merari.
All right, jump to verse 24.
See, and I know you bring this up a lot of times. Something that simple that we don't even think about, the choir. Hey, they're counted as a part of the service of the congregation with the Levites.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that means we have, it's a liberty that we have to have sisters in the choir. I don't think brothers understand. They're going to be all brothers. So while y'all sitting here, think about, somebody got to hit them high notes. Can't have no choir full of brothers sound like Ruel.
And Yahweh said, yeah.
The choir's going to be horrible. So they got 14 Barry Whites up there. We need some elder barge. You got to be able to be a manly elder barge. We need an L in here. See? We need a brother who can be completely secure and go, ah, and know he's a man. Right. Okay. Right. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 24. These were the sons of Levi after the house of their fathers, even the chief of the fathers, as they were counted by number of names by their polls, that did the work for the service of the house of Yahweh, from the age of 20 years and upward. For Dawid said, Yahweh Elohim of Israel has given rest unto his people, that they may dwell in Jerusalem forever.
So in other words, they didn't have to move it no more. Tabernacle don't have to move no more. Now we can get these younger boys in here to do some stuff, because they don't have to carry and move. The tabernacle not gonna have to move. So, all right, we can let them come in. We'll direct what they get to do, but we ain't got to move it no more. It's a totally different level of work now. So we've been cheating, but we whining about what we got to do. Man, if we had to build this place every week, it'll be me and Kish in here and a few other brothers.
Oh no, I ain't putting no sanctuary together.
We'd be talking about, I hope that internet working. Yeah.
I hope the scream working. We're gonna scream this thing.
Yeah, right. Go ahead.
And also unto the Levites, they shall no more carry the tabernacle, nor any vessels of it for the service thereof. For by the last words of Dawid, the Levites were numbered from 20 years old and above, because their office was to wait on the sons of Aaron for the service of the house of Yahweh.
Wait on the sons, okay? So, you have to get to the point where you're preparing them for the things that they're going to do. So when it becomes their time at 30, they don't need training. They already been in work training. See, they used to have that in our schools. They took it out because we wasn't needing their college anymore. See, we got to the point where we think college is God. See, we got to the point, all our old people start telling you go to college and you're going to get you a good job. See, that's what you do. You go to college. We used to be able to go to high school and get a good job. You learn how to do auto paint body, welding, how to do all of those things, and you could take care of yourself. You didn't need to go to college. Now, people spend, by the time they get out of college, they owe $100 and some thousand. You owe all that and still trying to get a job, and they're like, you know what, you're not qualified. $100,000 says I am. $100,000 says I am. I'm qualified. You see the piece of paper? Cost me $100,000 to get the piece of paper. So I says I'm qualified, and this bill here says I'm qualified, and I need to work because they trying to send the bill to the house. Most people not even working in the field that they went to school in because that bill kept coming. And they said, I gotta work somewhere. Then, what really cook your noodle is when you realize the job I'm working pay more than the field that I went to school to do. I went to school to do this. I'm making $20,000 more a year over here. Now, what's the chances of me going back to that? So I can be 20,000 broker? Just so I can say, I'm working in the field where I went to college. It's a dirty game. They took all of these things. This whole thing was set up. This is how we got the other setup, where you learned from the fathers that came before you. You learned what they were doing, and then that helped you get a jump start in life because you were picking it up earlier. All that has been taken away from us. Just go to school. Just go to college. That way we completely control the outcome of your life. Because in the grand scheme of things, you go to college, you still don't know how to do nothing. Mm-hmm. You just went to college. I got a degree. I'm not bashing college. I went to DeVry. I knew that I wanted to go to the quickest school going now, you know what I'm saying? I said, look here, I need the quickest thing you got in here, because I'm not a school kind of person. Matter of fact, I done already got kicked out of 5 of them. And I don't think this gonna go over well if I get kicked out of here and my mama paying. You know what I'm saying? I got kicked out of free school and she was upset. I know she's gonna get upset if I get kicked out of where she's paying. So I'm gonna need to get it. They said, by your scores, sir, you should take our engineering program. I said, I'm gonna need you to engineer yourself over to the smallest program that you got in here, because I need to get in and out. I need to get in and out. I need to get in here before I get out of here the wrong way. So come on now. What you got? What's the fastest thing you got going? They said electronic technician. I said, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. 18 months. And still then, you still going on various interviews. You are just trainable. Still didn't know nothing. This just said you are trainable to do this. So 1 minute I'm interviewing at this camera factory, what they call Minolta or whatever. This big, they got one right over there off North Drury Hills over there. You know, I end up working at the place across the street. So, you know, we're going into all this stuff, you know, and it never does occur to you, hey man, that business don't really exist anymore like it used to. Everybody's a photographer now because this digital stuff has really taken, you know, over. But I'm going into all these different things to figure out which way I'm going to use this certificate. And some might say, I used it the wrong way. Matter of fact, some of the people who graduated when I graduated, they said, man, you graduated the best of all of us. And this is the job you took. You got to do physical labor. Their jobs don't exist no more. Mine does. See, and I found out those weren't decisions that I made. Those were decisions that Yahweh made for me. Go ahead.
In the courts and in the chambers, and in the purifying of all holy things, and the work of the service of the house of Elohim. Verse 29. Both for the showbread, and for the fine flour for meat offering, and for the unleavened cakes, and for that which is baked in the pan, and for that which is fried, and for all manner of measure and size. And to stand every morning to thank and praise Yahweh, and likewise at even. And to offer all burnt sacrifices unto Yahweh in the Sabbaths, in the new moons, and on the set feast day, by number according to the order commanded unto them continually before Yahweh. And that they should keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the charge of the holy place, and the charge of the sons of Aaron their brethren, in the service of the house of Yahweh.
All right. Let's go to our Numbers chapter 16. So you see that there is a strict order when it comes down to who has what authority. So when you look at man's division of work and the things that they do, understand that they got their order from looking at ours. When they talk about their bankruptcy, they talk about chapter 7 and chapter 13, they got it out of this book. And we don't even know that they just selling us back our own culture. We go to watch a movie. If you knew the book, you'd understand that movie. That's your story that they selling you. Numbers chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 1.
Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men.
Now understand. Now this when you get down to this, Korah, son of Izhar, son of Kohath, you know, you're talking about, okay, there's some authority in this lineage, but even authority has to be dealt with in the correct manner. Go ahead.
And they rose up before Moshe with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown.
And that's all we need to really do a rebellion is the right numbers. See, when people get the right amount of numbers, it make them feel like they right. You just found you 249 more fools. Go ahead.
And they gathered themselves together against Moshe and against Aaron, and said unto them, you take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them.
Right. So now we're going to blur the lines of authority, and now we all should have the same authority. See, every last one of us holy. Yahweh said that holiness went, you're holy to do the job that you were given. You ain't holy to do his job. You holy to do your job. Now, once you step outside of your job and try to perform his job, you realize you're not holy anymore? See, that's hard for us to understand. Well, I'm holy. You was holy when you was standing over there. Now you walk right outside of holy. You didn't feel it? You didn't feel yourself walking out of holiness? You walked right out of it when you walked out of your job and walked into his. You are no longer holy anymore. This is why we have to let people stand in the place where they're supposed to be standing. That's where your holiness is in your job. When you start trying to deal with somebody else's stuff. Well, I mean, Keisha doing such and such. I don't know why he doing that. There's a reason why you don't know, because that ain't none of your business. You didn't know that because that ain't none of your business. Go ahead.
And Yahweh is among them. Wherefore then lift up yourselves above the congregation of Yahweh.
And that's what you're doing. When you start jumping off into somebody else's job, you lifting up yourself. When the doorman said, you know what, I don't know what offerings we got in the church this month. There's a reason why. That ain't your job. Are you the secretary? No. Well, shut up then. Go ahead.
And when Moshe heard it, he fell upon his face. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, even tomorrow Yahweh will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he has chosen will he cause to come near unto him. This do. Take you censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before Yahweh tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom Yahweh does choose, he shall be holy. You take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moshe said unto Korah, hear, I pray you, you sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you, that the Elohim of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself to do the service of the tabernacle of Yahweh, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them?
Right. See, does it seem like a small thing that he has separated you and have given you a duty and a job? But now you want somebody else's too? Do you not respect what he has given you? Go ahead.
And he has brought you near to him, and all your brethren, the sons of Levi, with you. And seek you the priesthood also?
Right. I want mine in there. See, at that point where, when your kids, they're giving out cereal, I want the Fruit Loop. Then your brothers get the Fruity Pebbles. You know what, I want those too. No, man, you got the Fruit Loop. You can't have the Fruit Loop and the Fruity Pebbles. That's too much fruit. Go ahead.
For which cause both you and all your company are gathered together against Yahweh. And what is Aaron that you murmur against him?
Right. Because it's not him that you're murmuring against. It's Yahweh that you are murmuring against. Now, it is often stated that all things should be done decent and in order. Yahweh our Elohim established an order as it pertains to his priesthood. We see that the younger helpers were admitted at 20 and 25 years old, while the other ones receiving charges were numbered at the age of 30. Genesis chapter 41 and 46 says that Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. Luke chapter 3 and verse 23 says Yahshua was about 30 years of age when he began his ministry. These two instances show the purpose of Yahweh coincides before the law and during the walk of the anointed one that they call Christ. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 16. So we see that order stayed. That order was there before the law was given. So when we talk about the things that happened with Joseph, there was no official law. Yet he was 30 years old before he stood before Pharaoh. So understand what happened though. That means he had to go through some hell before it was time for him to start serving. He was already thrown in jail before 30. He was already accused before 30. All that had to happen to him before so that he was ready when he got 30. He wasn't going through training at 30. At 30, Yahweh didn't say, this is a 316. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, he didn't feel like this was glorious training being in prison now. Because understand where he got most of his training. In servitude. Okay. Go ahead. Deuteronomy chapter 16. I want you to read verses 18 through 20.
Judges and officers shall you make you in all your gates, which Yahweh your Elohim gives you, throughout your tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. You shall not wrest judgment, you shall not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift does blind the eyes of the wise and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shall you follow, that you may live and inherit the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you.
All right. So then now when you talk about that there must be these just judges that must be there, we have to figure out, okay, so what kind of individuals are we going to get to be just judges? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Chapter 1, and let's read verses 9 through 18.
And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I'm not able to bear you myself alone. Yahweh your Elohim has multiplied you, and behold, you are this day as the stars of heaven for multitude. Yahweh Elohim of your fathers make you 1,000 times so many more as you are, and bless you as he has promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance, and your burden, and your strife? Take you wise man, and understanding, and known among your tribes, and I'll make them rulers over you. And you answered me, and said, the thing which you have spoken is good for us to do. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men, and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds, and captains over 50s, and captains over 10s, and officers among your tribes. And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him. You shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great. You shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is Elohim's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it on to me, and I will hear it.
All right, so then we have a standard court, and we got a high court. If you can't work it out, then bring it to me. Go ahead.
And I commanded you at that time all the things which you should do.
All right. So then let's recap the significance points that Yahweh has placed in his order. At 20 years old, a man is able to go forth to war and help in the priesthood. The age of 25 was also added as helpers of the priesthood. The age of 30 in receiving a charge in the priesthood. And 50 years old is retirement from physical service and introduction to the governing body of the nation. When it came time to divide the spirit of Moshe for governing, we find the number 70 enters the equation. Let's examine why this number of 70 exists in the equation. Let's go to Numbers chapter 11. See, it says you are supposed to rise before the hoary-haired man. That's a gray-headed man. So that we show honor to these aged individuals when we greet them. But you know, that was before they had that rinse. You know what I'm saying? See, now they got that rinse, and you know what I'm saying? You see a brother, you're like, I don't know if I should stand up or not. You know what I'm saying? That brother being so black, you know what I'm saying? Like ravens. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So now you can't tell because the rinse don't let you tell. Is this a hoary-haired man or what? Go ahead.
Verse 16. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers of over
Whom
them.
you know now. Mm-hmm. You know that they so they ain't have no rinse then. They didn't have no rinse. So you knew that they was elders. Okay, go ahead.
And bring them on to the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with you. And I'll come down and talk with you there, and I'll take of the spirit which is upon you, and will put it upon them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, that you bear it not yourself alone. And say you unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and you shall eat flesh, for you have wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt, therefore Yahweh will give you flesh, and you shall eat. You shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it come out at your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that you have despised Yahweh which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? And Moshe said to the people, among whom I am, are 600,000 footmen, and you have said, I will give them flesh, that they may eat a whole month? Shall the flock and the herds be slain for them, to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, to suffice them? And Yahweh said unto Moshe, is Yahweh's hand waxed short? You shall see now, whether my word shall come to pass unto you or not. And Moshe went out, and told the people the words of Yahweh, and gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them round about the tabernacle.
Right. So then this 70 are gathered together in judgment. In Israel, the 70 is called the Sanhedrin. This is where the judgment comes from. Look at what these 70 was put together for. Go ahead.
And Yahweh came down in a cloud, and spake unto him, and took of the spirit that was upon him, and gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass, that when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, and did not cease. But there remained 2 of the men in the camp. The name of the one was Eldad, and the name of the other Medad. And the spirit rested upon them, and they were of them that were written, but went not out onto the tabernacle, and they prophesied in the camp. And there ran a young man, and told Moshe, and said, Eldad and Medad do prophesy in the camp. And Yahshua the son of Nun, the servant of Moshe, one of his young men, answered and said, my master Moshe forbid them. And Moshe said unto him, envieth you for my sake? Would Elohim that all Yahweh's people were prophets, and that Yahweh would put his spirit upon them. And Moshe gat him into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. And there went forth a wind from Yahweh, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp. And as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day, and all that night, and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He that gathered least gathered 10 omers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp.
Right.
And while the flesh
Hold on. And we still trying to figure out why we like the yard bird so much. Understand why you love chicken. Understand why the chicken just tickles your fancy. You said chicken, we start clucking. We just, you have to stop us from eating chicken. Yahweh said you're going to eat so much, you're going to come out your nose. He said, wait a minute, you got cattle right here. No, you're not going to eat them. No, I got something you're going to eat. You're going to eat it so much, it's going to shoot out your nose. What do we do today? We eat so much chicken till it shoot out our nose. Sometimes you have to tell people, don't make no more chicken. What? It's our favorite meal. I did it. I want some chicken right now. What? Just talking about it. See, we got some sauce in there. Go ahead, bro.
And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of Yahweh was kindled against the people.
He let them, they were still eating the chicken. My elder said, when judgment come, when Yahshua come, we're going to be somewhere with a chicken bone stuck in our mouth. We're going to be so busy with something else. Who is that? You don't know who that is? Go ahead.
And Yahweh smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people that lusted. And the people journeyed from Kibroth Hattaavah on to Hazeroth, and abode at Hazeroth.
All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 1. because we still got to get down to the meat of that matter, because we see then that 70 was gathered in judgment. It was the Sanhedrin, so the governing body that offers judgment unto Israel was this 70. When you get down to a Septuagint, what was it? These 70 who got together to put this together. So you have this system of judgment that was given to us. But it was based on something. Let's read verses 1 through 7. Exodus chapter 1.
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Yehuda. Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls.
All the souls were 70 souls. All right. This was the method of your creation. This is how you became a nation. Your judgment is going to mimic your creation. He wrote the law in stone. What was judgment? You get stoned to death. So what they hit you with? The law. When he threw down the law, he threw down the tablets, it break. That's what Yahweh threw at you. The chips of the law that you broke. He threw it down, it break into pieces, then he said throw it at him. So you got hit with the law when you got judged. Pow! Deuteronomy just hit me. Pow! That was Leviticus. You know what I'm saying? Right. Go ahead.
For Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful, and increased abundantly, and multiplied, and waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them.
All right. That's as far as I want to go right there. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 25. Because when Yahweh grabs a theme, he sticks with it. And this is at that point where we're supposed to know, all right, once you go past this point, you are entering into a deep level of trouble. Jeremiah chapter 25, and we're going to read verses 1 through 14.
The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Yehuda in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadrezzar, king of Babylon. The which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Yehuda and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, From the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Yehuda, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year, the word of Yahweh hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but you have not hearkened. And Yahweh has sent unto you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but you have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. They said, Turn you again now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that Yahweh has given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. And go not after other gods to serve them, and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I'll do you no hurt. Yet you have not hearkened unto me, saith Yahweh, that you might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, because you have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, says Yahweh, and Nebuchadrezzar the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment and an hissing and perpetual desolations. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years.
70 years. So you get this whole system. This is the form of how you were set together as a nation. This was the judgment that you were given in the Sanhedrin. This is the whole setup of the Septuagint. Now we have this captivity 70 years. Israel, at first, he was giving us, you punish 8 years. Then he give you 12 years of captivity. Then 18 years of captivity. Then 30 years of captivity. At this point, this should have been your end all. But you still can't listen. So now what happens to the 70? Did you finish that?
No.
Go ahead and finish that.
And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I'll punish the king of Babylon and that nation, says Yahweh, for their lawlessness, and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolations. And I'll bring upon that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, even all that was written in this book, which Jeremiah has prophesied against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I'll recompense them according to their deeds and according to the works of their own hands.
For many nations and great kings. Oh, wait a minute. He just said this one. So what is he doing again? I mean, because 70 is it, right? I mean, he said the 70. This is the 70. We have done the 70. All right, it's over. Why do you keep saying many now, Yahweh? I want you to read, go to the next graphic, and I want you to read Daniel 9 and verse 24. Read that for me.
70 weeks are determined upon your people and upon the holy city.
Now this is given unto Daniel. Go ahead.
To finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for lawlessness, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy.
So, wait a minute. So, I mean, we did 70 years. Why is he talking about 70 weeks? Oh, I'm sorry. These are weeks of years. Now he start multiplying the 70. Right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 18. See, just when you think, all right, Yahweh can't do no more. I mean, we done. I mean, this is how we was born. This is the foundation is 70. We done 70. Now, he teaches you multiplication. I don't want no more math. Yeah. Welcome to algebra. Yeah, welcome to algebra. Time for you to learn a higher level of math. Yeah. Matthew chapter 18, and we're going to read verses 15 through 22.
Moreover, if your brother shall trespass against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he shall hear you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear you, then take with you 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
So then we have this equation then when we deal with it. If you go tell your brother did something against you, that means he sinned. If you go tell him or mention what has happened, that then is rebuke. If he repents, then you forgive him. That is the equation of sin and forgiveness. What people try to tell you is they want to tell you, well, you need to just forgive me. Well, I hadn't rebuked you, and you hadn't repented. We missing 2 parts out of this equation. And people just want to jump to the end of the forgiveness part, but they haven't done their part in that equation. Go ahead.
And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it on to the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto you as an heathen man and a publican. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever he shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Then came Cephas to him and said, Adonai, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times?
Now here we go with multiplication again. Here we go. Go ahead.
Yahshua says unto him, I say not unto you until 7 times, but until 70 times 7.
Now why he just grab that number out of nowhere? Why he get 70? Now why he gonna pull out 70? He could have pulled out anything. He could have said 56. He could have said 14. Why he said 70? Right. even in it, and we understand, he's not going at a real number. He's not expecting you to multiply 70 times 7. He's telling you that you ain't supposed to be counting. You're supposed to have that much forgiveness inside of you that when an individual does something, if they repent, that we forgive them. That's the point that he's making. But he used the whole foundation of our judgment to offer us the equation of how it should be done. That's interesting. See, and if you don't know certain things about the setup, you just think he just grabbed a number that just sound good. He just grabbed a number. You know, because, you know, we got those kind of numbers. When we say 5011, it's not a real, 5011 is not a real number. We black people understand that you'll confuse your white friends if you say, you know, how many of them about 5011? They be, oh my God, it was 5,011 out there? No, man, white friend, come here. White friend, I don't mean 5,011. 5011 just mean a whole lot of. That's what 5011 is not a real number. White friend, just be quiet. I'll explain it later, but you're making yourself look bad in front of the rest of the people. Stop. Don't try to figure out the number. But I was good at math. I know, white friend. You're really good at math. That's why you do my taxes. Look, don't try to figure out this number though. This is a black number. It's not real. Okay, 5011 is not a real number. Okay, all right. I'll tell you later. We'll talk. All right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 1 through 3.
And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose.
Right. They chose them natural-looking women, not spiritual women. So then, those gifts that they possessed took a natural turn. Instead of then allowing those gifts to be used for Yahweh, they use those gifts for natural things, which is what we struggle with all the time. Yahweh gives us a gift and we automatically believe he gave me this gift so I can be rich. We can't possibly think, I can't believe he would give me this and me not be rich. And I'm literally talking about myself right now. Mm-hmm. It's like, why would you give somebody the gift of comedy and they not be a comedian? I don't. Why would you give me music and I'm not being a musician? It's like, shut up, boy, I know what I'm doing. It make perfect sense now. It was kind of hard to swallow earlier in life because I didn't understand what was going on. Makes perfect sense now. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years.
So then, in the grace that Yahweh has, he says, I'm going to cut down the lifespan of man so he don't have all these sins that he's going to have to stand in the judgment for. So he cuts down this time to 120. Now let's go to Psalms chapter 90. And we know, you live to 120, you got it going on. Well, let's go to Psalm chapter 90, and let's start at verse 1.
Yahweh, you have been our dwelling place in all generations. Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, even from everlasting to everlasting, you are Elohim. You turneth man to destruction and saith, return, you children of man. For 1,000 years in your sight are but as yesterday, when it is past, and as a watch in the night. You carried them away as with a flood. They are as a sleep. In the morning they are like grass which grows up. In the morning it flourishes and grows up. In the evening it is cut down and withers. For we are consumed by your anger, and by your wrath are we troubled. You have set our lawlessness before you, our secret sins in the light of your countenance. For all our days are passed away in your wrath. We spend our years as a tale that is told. The days of our years are 80 years and 10. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, yet it
Now,
is...
well, he just said 70 and 80. Yahweh in early cut us down to 120. Now, this writing said, hey, man, most we getting is 70 or 80. This is why you have people say, after 70, I'm living on grace. You're like, what are you talking about? This is one of those things where they're getting that from. So you didn't have to consider. Now, he's not saying that each man, that this is all we're going to live, but you got to understand. He's saying, look, you know, this is a general marker of our lifespan. So then if you don't make retirement to 65, go ahead, bro.
I was going to say, it's like you were talking about earlier. They looked at what's the average lifespan of
There you go.
us.
There you go. There you go. And this was 70, 80 before we had barbecue pork rinds. We didn't even have the hot pork rinds right here. Right. Right. So that time right, already done got cut right there. Go ahead.
Yet is there strength, labor, and sorrow, for it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knows the power of your anger? Even according to your fear, so is your wrath. So teach us to number our days.
Teach us to number our days. See, sometimes you get so caught up in what you want and this, that, and the third, and your days are flying by, and you spending all your time on some mess that don't matter. Trust me, if you get to end up sitting on that table with air being pumped in your mouth because you can't breathe, none of that stuff is gonna matter. All that stuff that you think you matter. I want this kind of house. I want this kind of car. None of that matters when you're on that table. Go ahead, bro.
That we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Return, O Yahweh, how long? And let it repent you concerning your servants. O satisfy us early with your mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days wherein you have afflicted us, and the years wherein we have seen evil. Let your work appear unto your servants, and your glory unto their children. And let the beauty of Yahweh our Elohim be upon us, and establish you the work of our hands upon us. Yea, the work of our hands establish you it.
All right. Let's go to Exodus chapter 3. So you find that Yahweh sticks to the same thing if you can follow him. You can follow the same thing from one end of the book to the other end of the book. He keeps his stuff constant. You just have to know where it is. Exodus chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 16. So now we're talking about before we have this organized system of Israel, look at how Yahweh is still having things dealt with. Go ahead.
Now Moshe kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert and came to the mountain of Elohim, even to Horeb.
Right. And understand, Yahweh sent him out there. Understand, he runs out at 40, spends another 40 years. He has been trained by this other man in dealing with priesthood things. People say, wait a minute, how can Yahweh teach him with somebody who wasn't in Israel? When you went to college, was it a black school? Was it all black people? Do you know what you're doing? You got basic knowledge, right? Okay. Did all your teachers have to be in the Word? I don't see how a math teacher need to be in the Word. Is there holy math? Is there unholy math? I think 1 and 1 in the kingdom gonna equal the same thing it equal in the heathendom. I think they're the same 1 and 1 equal gonna be 2. Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, even when you go to college, you're not trained for the exact company you're going to work for.
Right.
Like you said, once you get the piece of paper and they look at it, it means you're trainable. They're going to train you in their way of doing things.
Exactly.
And if you leave that company, the next one you go to going to train
You're going to have to, exactly. But there's certain basic things they're going to want you to know. So Yahweh, like, go over here, because there's certain basic things I'm going to need for you to know. And you're going to learn them being under this man right here. Now, when you come out of that, I'm going to teach you some specifics that have to do with my company. See, I got a company called Israel. See, I'm going to teach you how to run my company. Right. See? Go ahead.
And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burnt with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Uh-huh.
And Moshe said, I'll now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt.
That's automatic. I mean, that's human, nature. We see something that's on fire, but it didn't burn. I want to get a better look at this. Go ahead.
And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not near hither. Put off your shoes from off your feet, for the place wherein you standeth is holy ground.
All right, stop. Where is that?
The sanctuary.
No, where is it physically in earth? Where that place at? We come up with 50 different answers. Because it's what he said. Wherever the angel at. See, the Gentiles going to say,
See, I know exactly where the bush was burning. Matter of fact, you see these ashes? It came from the bush itself. Now, for $59.95, you can have a piece of Moshe's burning bush.
right. And you wonder why they got all the money and we broke. They selling ash. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to go nowhere else with that. Read, brother.
Moreover, he
We're going
said,
to keep our family rating, guys.
Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of your father, the El of Abraham, the El of Esaac, and the El of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim. And Yahweh said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now therefore, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? And he said, Certainly, I'll be with you, and this shall be a token unto you, that I have sent you. When you have brought forth the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Elohim upon this mountain. And Moshe said unto Elohim, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The El of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them?
Now you see how he said immediately they gonna ask if you talk to him, what's his name? This is the very first question that he said they gonna ask him. Yet people tell us on Sunday morning,
Here's many names.
why didn't Yahweh answer that the same way that they answered? The very first question he said,
As soon as I tell them I done talked to you, they going to say, Well, what's his name?
how is it we don't ask the same question? Now, these are not a bunch of people who done went to college. These are a bunch of people doing physical labor. They are in bondage. Okay? They are in bondage. They are in servitude. And he said, they going to ask me, what's your name? How is it that a bunch of uneducated physical servants can ask this intelligent question, and us so-called educated PhD having, we fall for the, he has many names. But that's not what this says. He doesn't answer this, I have many names. Go ahead.
And Elohim said unto Moshe, Yahweh. And he said, thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yah has sent me unto you.
Right. And then they say it in their church gatherings when they say hallelujah. So they'll tell you he had many names, then turn around and say, praise Yah. They don't know that's what hallelujah means. So they will say the name accidentally, but then tell you he got many names. Go ahead.
And Elohim said moreover unto Moshe, thus shall you say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, the El of Abraham, the El of Esaac, and the El of Jacob, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together.
Now wait a minute. In order, this is all this stuff. So after he has said, he has asked Yahweh these questions, now Yahweh gives him instructions of who to go to. Go ahead.
Go and gather the elders of Israel together, and say unto them, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, the El of Abraham, of Esaac, and of Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely visited you, and seen that which is done to you in Egypt.
So he has all but given Moshe the order of how to deal with things. Go to the elders. Brother, I want you to read the definitions that we have there for elders.
From H2205, Brown Driver Briggs definition, old of humans, elder of those having authority.
Of those having authority. Go to the elders. Okay? Now, you understand when you look, an elder has old in it. Go ahead. Go read the next one.
The word is zaken. Old, aged, ancient man, elder, eldest, old man, old men, and old women, senator.
All right. So then there is a part of elder that is old. Then when we look at the Brown Drivers Briggs, we understand there is also a part of that that is saying authority. So he then sends Moshe in to deal with the elders, deal with those having authority among the nation. I need you to go in and talk to, these kids. Mm-hmm. I need you to go in and talk to those who have authority. So he's given him the blueprint so that when he got to the point of dealing with those 70, understand where he got the foundation from. This was the first thing told him. Go and talk to the elders. What we do when we have some issues, we want to talk to our friends or an older. See, there's a difference between an older and an elder. And we have been too nice sometimes and allow somebody who was physically an elder, but not spiritually an elder. They were physically an elder because they were old enough to be called an elder. They were not spiritually an elder because they have not performed the service. So then people are asking these individuals questions, and some of those questions would not come in this forum. So we didn't know that people were asking these individuals questions, but they're asking these people questions that they don't have the ability to answer. So they're getting people all kinds of wrong advice because they were an older, not an elder. It says ask your elders, not ask your olders. So we just go to somebody older and start asking them questions. You need to figure out what service that they perform that allows them to give that advice. Go ahead, brother.
In the key part of when Yahweh was going to give of Moshe's spirit, he says, those that you know to be elders.
Right. So then you then have to deal with, okay, who has performed what services here? Because understand that these still his folks. He know who to go ask. He know who, y'all know, we know how to go get information. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 5.
First Peter chapter 5 and verse 1. The elders which are among you I exhort, whom am also an elder.
Right. So then you find this setup here in the old and the new. So then there is a certain amount of respect that's connected to the elder, but then there's also some responsibility that is connected to that. And you can't have the respect without taking on all of the job duties that come along with that. See, a lot of people just like the title, so they throw around the title of elder without taking on the responsibilities that are connected to it. Go ahead.
And a witness of the sufferings of Yahshua, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of Elohim which is among you. Take the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not for filthy lucre, but of a ready mind. Neither as being masters over Elohim's heritage, but being ensamples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd shall appear, you shall receive a crown of glory that fades not away.
You don't get a crown just because you're an elder. You get a crown because you were a worthy elder. Go ahead.
Likewise, you younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For Elohim resisteth the proud, and gives grace to the humble. Humble yourselves therefore unto the mighty hand of Elohim, that he may exalt you in due time.
Right, because just because a person may be an elder don't mean that they know everything about the particular situation. It may be that the elder has to humble himself, listen to the younger brother, because that brother does that thing. What if a younger brother that works on cars come and say, Priest Esaac, you shouldn't do that right there to that car. Boy, I'm an elder, sit down. Then my car blow up on Glenwood. Then that's my own fault. Because I wouldn't humble myself to listen to that young dude, but he knew more about that than I did. Go ahead.
Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about, seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the Elohim of all grace, who has called us unto his eternal glory by Yahshua HaMashiach, after that you have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. To him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen.
All right. Amen. Indeed. You know, when we examine, those things in its entirety, we understand that Yahweh is, serious about his order. When my elder was alive, he used to make, this statement that used to, it started throwing me. He said, Sock, I teach priests. And I was like, okay, that's a, okay. Well, I don't understand why you're telling me. That's good for, these guys who gonna be priests. But I don't understand why you telling me. And then he got to the point where he was directing the statement directly toward me. You understand, son? I teach priests. And I keep saying, I'm trying to figure out who you're talking to, because it looked like you're looking at me. And I don't understand why. I run the media department. You know what I'm saying? I'm in charge of DVDs. You understand? That's what I do. I'm the DVD master. You understand? This is what I do. You need DVD? I got you. All right? But the priest stuff, you need to, I'd appreciate it if you missed me with that, because that's not what I do. Silly me. I didn't realize the old man was trying to tell me what I was going to be doing, that he was letting me know, no. I don't think you understand. I'm not in general talking. I'm talking to you. When I first saw my elder, because I didn't see him until I came to the sanctuary. It was other little shows or whatever that I seen. It was two sisters on the show that I seen, and then I came to the camp, and then even then I still didn't see him. I came and I was on the first day I started going, because I had a whole thing set up. I wasn't set up to go on the Sabbath right away. So eventually I went on the Sabbath and I saw this old man. I went home and I said, I know exactly what I'm gonna be like when I get old. And my family looked at me like, what are you talking about? So I ain't never seen nobody like me. I know what I'm gonna be like when I get old. And it was one of the strangest things. And I always thought it was strange. I was like, man, I when I realized he was sick, I was like, man, I got the last 7 years of my elder's life. And my thought process was, I should have got more. I should have been around like this little place. I had passed by this little place a cajillion times, but Yahweh never let me go into this place or even drive down in the parking lot. I never saw any of that. So I kind of started feeling sorry for myself, and I've off and on, I've always had that thought that I should have been there longer. I should have got more, from him. And as you start studying this thing and you get into this, that the work starts at 30 years old. I was 29 years old when I got married. The book says when a man gets married, don't charge him with no work for a year, that he may please his wife. Yahweh gave me a year off right after I got married. Then he threw me in the word, and I didn't understand that I was starting this at 30. I didn't really understand that he was like, no, you got to be of age to walk in this, what I'm finna give you. I didn't really get that at the point, and Yahweh got jokes. It was 9/29/01. I was 29 years old. Yahweh got jokes. When I came out of the hospital, it was on the 28th during the day. Yahweh got jokes. So, when you get right down to it, he was setting some foundations of some things that I really didn't understand or comprehend at that point. When it says that you shall begin this service at 30 and you're going to work to 50. At 50, you are then into that elder role. So, as of tomorrow, I will be the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel. I praise Yahweh, And when my elder was saying stuff to me, he was describing stuff. He was like, Sock, you don't need to be 50 to be a priest. I was like, I really don't understand why you're telling me this. He's like, Sock, you began at 30. He said, at 50, I then became the elder priest. I said, that is a very interesting story. I don't understand how it involves me, because do you need a DVD? Because But that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.